Good morning everybody. Well, today's a Saturday and there is no weather today, absolutely nothing. I've had a look out the window and there is no weather. So really I haven't got any excuse for being cooked up inside, but I am inside. Well, yesterday I was walking around the office and I spotted on one of the engineers' desks this thing, and not something I'd ever seen before, and what it turns out to be, it's a master control unit for a Bang and Olufsen hi-fi system. It actually says it's a master controller, master control panel 5500 series, and as with all Bang and Olufsen equipment, it is absolutely stunning, beautiful, weighs an absolute ton. Now, while most people might have had a little handheld remote control, Bang & Olufsen like to do things a little bit differently. So what this is it basically is just a remote control, but I believe the one of the clever things about this remote control unit is that it's two-way, in that it sends and receives information to and from the hi-fi unit which it communicates to. Now, I know absolutely nothing about this, but I'm going to guess, given its age, which again I'm going to guess at sometimes in the 80s, or maybe 90s, maybe early 90s. I'm guessing that, what am I guessing? I'm guessing that it's infrared rather than radio, but I don't know. There's a bit of a shaggy dog story attached to this, or maybe not such a shaggy dog story, but when I walked into the office I spotted this on somebody's desk, and actually a chap called Richard, it was sat on his desk, and I saw this piece of technology or piece of gear, and you can imagine I was immediately drawn to it. And it turns out there is a bit of a story to it, in that it was working fine, but my friend Richard dropped it and then it stopped working. So as he told me the story, he had these big mournful eyes and he's looking at me with that kind of think he was saying, wouldn't you just like to take this home with you and have a go at repairing it? And of course I did want to take it home and have a go at repairing it, but I did have to place the caveat that my track record of repairing things isn't great. I am exceptionally good at pulling things apart. If there was an award for pulling stuff in bits, I would be right up there as an Oscar nominee. But when it actually comes to reassembling them and they're working again at the end of the day, yeah, not so good. Anyway, but given that it's already broken, perhaps I can't do any harm. Now, I say it's broken, it does partially work. Richard tells me it won't communicate with a hi-fi system at all, but I do notice when you press some of the buttons, some things do appear to work. Now, I'm assuming this circular ring here is a volume control, and when I turn that, I can see some LEDs scrolling up and down. Maybe I can just bring you in there. I can see that there is some LEDs going up and down. So there's something happening inside, and it comes up with the word no contact. Now, I'm guessing that's just telling of the fact that it can't communicate with the, for whatever reason, it can't communicate with the actual hi-fi part, the separate part. Now, the other thing that's going on is that I don't know what these numbers mean at this side, but they don't appear to work properly. There's obviously a display that sometimes comes on and displays some random characters. Okay, it's doing it now. Looks as though it's 5555, something like that, but it doesn't change. When you press any of the buttons, it doesn't change. So what I'm suspecting here is that perhaps it's just a problem with the display, and I'm also going to make the assumption that this is some form of a multiplex display. Now, what I'm hoping is when we actually open this thing up, we're going to find some mechanical damage inside, which I'm hoping is going to be relatively easy to put right. So let's pull this in bits now and see if we can find anything obvious. So it's powered by a number of D cells, and I'm told that these batteries are all new, but I'm guessing that we should always check the obvious things first. And of course the rule is thou shalt check power supplies. So let's just have a quick check that those batteries do appear to have some charge in them. 1.4, 1.4, 1.4, 1.4. I'm actually guessing that that is a little bit discharged, but the thing's lighting up, so I assume it's working. What we might try and do is just put it on a separate power supply in a minute, just to make sure that it isn't the batteries, because of course I'm measuring this the terminal voltage across these batteries, and they will have I'm guessing a relatively high internal resistance. So when you use a digital meter like this that's got very high impedance, it doesn't load the battery at all. So although it's showing you know, almost 1.5 volts, I kind of would question if that really is 1.5 volts. You probably need to put a little bit of load across the batteries. Okay, let's have a go at opening this thing up. And of course, what I could really do with is, because there's quite a few screws in this, what I could really do with is a little cordless screwdriver. But if anybody's watched the previous videos, we all know how that episode ended with me doing a little repair. I remember when I was growing up, as a teenage boy, I would go around to my friends' houses, and the average teenage boy, they had 2 posters on the wall. Well, there was probably 3 posters that were around at the time. In fact, I think there was only ever 3 posters in the entire world in the 80s period. The first poster consisted of a Lamborghini Countach. The second picture consisted of some tennis playing girl with a short skirt on scratching her ass. And I think the third picture consisted of some toilet roll monkey having a shit with toilet rolls wrapped around its feet. Now, I can't actually claim to have been particularly interested in cars at that time. I did get more interested in cars later on. I certainly wouldn't have any interest in girls at that time, being a good nerd. I had far better things to do. No interest in monkeys, still haven't. But the poster that I had on my bedroom wall was actually a poster which I think I stole from the Hi-Fi Centre, which was in Piccadilly, Manchester. And this was it was actually a poster. I think it was called the Hi-Fi Centre in Manchester. I think it was down Deansgate somewhere, and they used to sell all the high-end equipment. And yes, I do remember that I had a Bang and Olufsen poster on my bedroom wall, because this thing really is absolutely tech porn. It is beautiful, and even after all those years, it still looks sleek and modern and space age. Somebody's told me recently that the modern Bang and Olufsen stuff really isn't any good anymore. It's just, you know, mass-produced kind of Chinese lightweight rubbish with, you know, nothing to really mark it out as being any different. But certainly back in the day, B&O, Bang and Olufsen, it was sex on legs. Well, if it had legs. Okay, so we've undone the obvious screws, and the case still seems pretty fixed shut. There is some little rubber feet on here. I'm assuming they're rubber feet. Yeah, they must be rubber feet. I'm obviously very concerned that I don't want to do any cosmetic damage to this. Oh. Okay, That was a little bit more spectacular. Oh, Richard. I think this has been more than just drop, my good friend. I think there's a little bit more to this story, because I've immediately opened it up and oh dear, the circuit board is pretty much completely eaten away by well, I guess by leaking batteries in the past. Right, I've brought you in a little bit closer now, and all of the circuit board, it's eaten away, and I think that will probably be quite terminal. Well, the side that's eaten away here on the plus side is just the it looks like a ground plane or something of that description, but there's an awful lot of damage on this board. The entire of the ground plane seems to have been eaten away here. The damage does appear to have got into perhaps the keyboard underneath. It looks like there's some porcelain insulation material. Is porcelain Bakelite, or is that something else? Let's call it Bakelite. Some phenolic resin insulator, and it's quite discoloured. The phenolic resin has become discoloured. That's where the goo from the battery has actually leaked into it. So it looks as though at some point, in fact I can see the transmission path. This is the battery case here. Let's zoom you out a little bit. So this looks like the battery case here, and I can actually see that when this sits down like that, there's a slope, and I can see that the goo from the battery has leaked out. It's run up there down the case, and then it's spread out, and I can see stuff literally hanging off, corrosion hanging off there, and yeah, it's run down the case and it's got onto the circuit board. I can also see that just here there's some surface mount components, and they look pretty eaten away as well. There is a capacitor there, which, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if you can make that out, but basically it looks as though it had a rubber bung at one end. Well, that capacitor has exploded and it's pushed the rubber bung out, so we've got a dead electrolytic there. So I'm guessing if that one's bad, probably the other capacitors are bad as well. That's the encoder wheel there. Oh, what a lovely little thing. It's not. It's some form of variable resistor. Oh no, it's not a variable resistor, it is an encoder. That's interesting. I don't know if you'll actually be able to see that. There's some little tiny, let's bring you in, there's some little kind of switch contacts there, and depending on which way I turn the wheel, can you see that the switch contacts move from one side to the other? So I can see a series of little studs which are mounted behind the wheel. Now they obviously wipe over a set of contacts, so that's like a count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But what this encoder does, it has a separate set of contacts on it, which must give it direction. So yeah, so when I turn it, what am I turning it? I'm turning it clockwise now. So the switch contacts have gone vertical, and it will be pulsing the contacts and counting up. Some counter will be incrementing, and if I turn it the other way, it will be counting down as the little contacts go down to the bottom. So clockwise switch contacts at the top, anti-clockwise switch contacts go to the bottom, and it's quite beautifully made. That also damage to what I'm guessing is infrared transmitters. Maybe there's an infrared transmitter and receiver pair there. I can see some shielding under there. Yeah, I'm guessing that this is some form of separate infrared transmitter and receiver. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, okay. So we've got we've got an LED infrared transmitter there, and we've got some form of photo transistor receiver here. And it looks like there's a pair of them. There's one on the other side as well. So I think what we probably need to do is actually disassemble all this And I think what I'll actually do is put it in the sink and give it a scrub if I can. But certainly this has suffered a lot more than just being dropped. I think being dropped isn't what's killed this thing, it's manky batteries that have killed it. Okay, I've got another screw there. Oh, and this screw's already been undone. So, has somebody been in here before me? Yeah, it's an old product, I'm guessing that's quite likely. You know, it does look as though it has been designed with some thought given to the fact that this might actually be repairable in the future. Oh, and this photo transmitter and receiver assembly, again at this end, looks pretty badly damaged. And the transmitter's also out of line here. This is starting to look pretty terminal actually. I think if I try and disassemble this keyboard, I don't think I'll get it back together. So I think I'm going to have to stay clear of that. It does look though as though a lot of the goo may have run into the keyboard as well. I can certainly see signs of corrosion on it. Alright, okay, that's something interesting. I thought that this little volume encoder here, I thought that it was using mechanical contacts. Well, I can see some mechanical contacts in there, so perhaps it is. But there's also a little, what do you call that, photo encoder, little, it's one of these, it's an LED with a built-in photo detector. I'm not exactly sure what the name is for those. I used to know the name. But it's some form of encoder. So this must be an optical encoder as well. I can actually see, and I don't know if you'll see inside it. When I spin the wheel, let me see if I can get you a shot of inside. Can you see inside the just inside here where my finger is? Can you see it? I'm spinning the wheel now and you can see it flashing black and white. Well, there's some black and white paint on there, and that's obviously what this thing is actually using to count. But it does look as though it gets, as I said earlier, it does look as though it gets its direction from this little switch here. So I'm waggling it backwards and forwards. Hopefully you can see the switch go into the up and down position. Okay, we're going to give it a clean with IPA, and I've got some of these quite rough, they're kind of fiberglass brushes. In fact, this is so bad I think I might actually look for a brass brush. Okay, I've got some of these brass brushes which are actually a little bit more severe, but it is just so corroded. I think I need to get between a lot of these components and really kind of get a scrub in there, because this board is in such a mess. In fact, I think it's actually totally eaten away the top copper. Yeah, it has. There's actually no copper. It's actually eaten away the entire top copper. Hopefully that's just a ground plane that it's damaged, and maybe if we're lucky, these components are still intact underneath if we're lucky. The other side doesn't seem quite so bad. but it is hard to tell. I can see that, yeah, I can't tell at the moment. There's some fine traces here, and we'd probably have to have a look at them under the microscope to see if they've survived or not. But this would certainly explain what we were saying before with the LED, some of the segments not working. Actually, no, I'm looking at the wrong end. I was going to say that would explain why some of these segments aren't working if this was part of the multiplex bus, but I don't actually know what any of these. I was looking at the board the wrong way around, so I don't know what these traces are for. But, yeah, again, they're in a mess. So let's give these a bit of a polish, and then we can inspect them later under the microscope once we've got the worst of the surface corrosion away. Oh, damn, and I've managed to spill some IPA on the keyboard. I'm trying to avoid getting any solvent onto this keyboard area because I'm assuming that it probably uses some carbon tracks maybe printed onto something. I'm not exactly sure what the keyboard makeup is of this, but I don't want to get it wet because it could do well, I'm going to say it could do damage. I think the situation where we are at the moment, we probably aren't going to do any more damage than what has already been done. But yeah, like a doctor, what's the doctor's creed? Do no damage, or don't do anything. Don't make it worse. I don't know. I think as I'm polishing this, I've got a feeling some of the traces have entirely gone. One good thing about this equipment is, given its age, I'm guessing this is just a two-sided board, and the components on it, the majority of the components are through holes, which means that I can see where these tracks are going, and what I will be able to do is, if the tracks have gone, and yeah, it's just hard to tell at the moment. If the tracks have been eaten away, what I will be able to do is I'll just be able to put some jumper wires in from start to finish. I think they're actually polishing up these now, so I think maybe that's okay. There's quite a bit of corrosion on these surface mount components here, so I'm just going to give that a scrub as well. So, are any of you going to place a bet? Is this going to be repairable? And of course, you're not betting on whether or not you can repair it, you're betting on whether or not I can repair it. Come on, give us your votes, leave it in your comments. And no sneaking through to the end. Probably should have put gloves on before handling these solvents, IPA. It's stupid really not to take precautions against chemicals, but I don't know. When I was growing up, it wasn't such a big deal getting chemicals on you and solvents, and I think when you're younger, your skin tends to be a bit more resilient anyway. So I'm going to say I regret actually not gloving up to do this. I really should have done. Because the other thing about using these little fiberglass pencils is that little fine pieces of fiberglass break off the end as you're doing it. And I know that these will be mixed in with the IPA and the solvent, and I can feel it on my skin now, it's pricking me. So that was really stupid of me. So yeah, a bit of a safety thing there. Don't do what I do. Yeah. Put some gloves on. I wish I had, but it's a bit late now, so I'll just get finished off and that'll do. Right, I think that's the worst of it done. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm literally going to just take it over to the literally to the kitchen sink, and I'm gonna just submerge it in the sink and give it another wash to wash off the worst of, well, not the worst of it, hopefully the IPA's got rid of a lot of it. I'm just going to scrub off some of the dirt and the other electrolyte from the battery that might still be on this board, because I'm thinking that there's nothing here that's going to be particularly damaged by the by water, apart from potentially this keyboard. so I'm going to be very careful not to get any water on the keyboard. So I'm literally just going to lower it into some water, just agitate it with a toothbrush, and then pull it out. And I'm going to leave it on the radiator to dry for a few days, and then we'll have another look at this next week. Very luckily my wife's out shopping today, so what I've done is I've just snuck down into the kitchen, and we're just going to give this a little bit of a wash. We're using, unfortunately, probably one of the best casserole dishes here to do this, but what she doesn't know won't hurt her. And on the same line, she was daft enough to leave a toothbrush lying around, so here we go. And all I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to wash away any remaining electrolyte from the battery. And also there's probably some bits of fiberglass dust on here as well. What I used to do, and it's never failed me, when I used to repair old oscilloscope and things, I just used to put them in the dishwasher and then put them in a dry room for a couple of weeks to dry out. And I found that a lot of pieces of equipment that had come in faulty, especially stuff that had cathode ray tubes in and had high voltage stages, the act of just washing the thing and drying it properly, that cured an awful lot of faults. So I'm just going to give it another scrub there around those surface mount devices that were all corroded away. Strange that seems quite strange that although the batteries had leaked so badly, the actual there isn't any sign of corrosion on the actual battery clips at the end, the spring clips. So I can only assume that that most of the electrolyte goo just leaked through the casing rather than running to the ends where the battery connectors are, because they're in good condition, but there was certainly a lot of old battery goo and scum inside this old enclosure.